people get used to obeying orders.
Yeah.
And they just go ahead and do it. In fact, there have been studies that have been done on this after World War II. There's a famous one, I can't remember the name of it, but where they had a bunch of students at the university. There were two kind of famous tests, and I remember learning this in my psychology class. But one of them was really interesting. They got a bunch of students to pretend they were hooked up to electrodes, and you remember the story, right? And they had the teachers, turn the volume up on the electricity, and of course the kids were all acting and everything. But there was a mark on there that said "Don't go beyond," and when they were told to go beyond it, they did.
They did. Just
80% of them.
Just so long as authority said it was okay.
That's right.
The authority figure said, "No, it's okay for you to do this."
And afterwards, these teachers had PTSD.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't understand why they did that either.
Yeah.
And of course, the kids were screaming and passing out and all, totally going.
I love that.
But it showed a very,
experiment.
very important thing. They were trying to understand how
I
Nazi
believe they
guards.
stopped. I think that this experiment, they said they couldn't do it anymore after that happened. I'm not positive.
No, it was absolutely never allowed again because it did harm psychologically to these teachers. So it's kind of crazy. But the other one that was similar was they had two sets of groups of students that were from the same class. And one of them were the jailers, and the other one were the prisoners, and they were like locked in for like a period of time. And they found certain behaviors that developed in this environment, and so I think there's a real threat of that anytime you have authority, and so that's why I think it's important for anybody who's in a position of authority. Number one, there needs to be consequences if they abuse that authority, and it should be very severe, so that it puts a check on them, so they think, oh, I don't want to overstep and violate this person's rights. And the problem is that in the case of what happened to Glenn, absolutely the FBI should have investigated that for deprivation of rights under color of law. And in some cases of where there's video or there's it becomes a national spectacle or something, they will get involved. But what about the FBI when they do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
nobody
goes
after them.
Has there been? Your lawyer wasn't interested in suing, or you don't have a lawyer that's interested in suing?
He was a clod.
Well, yeah, but so I mean, fair enough. But you haven't. You've got a movie out. Have you been in contact with any other lawyers interested in suing Broward County or suing North Carolina? I mean, I imagine if this story, there's got to be plenty of evidence, and this seems like there's all kinds of room to at least attempt to get some kind of compensation for the illegal actions of a what amounts to small town abuse of power.
Oh, it absolutely is. I was in a position when I got home. I'd lost everything. I lost my home, lost my car. It was repoed while I was gone. 80% of my life insurance agency was gone because of a financial accusation. And the night after I got home, that infection that I told you about went into my right eye and destroyed my cornea. So I'm blind in my right eye for a year. For a year, I didn't care whether I lived or died. Now, I'm telling you, I wasn't suicidal. I was just defeated. I was defeated. I looked at and talked with a few attorneys about it. I didn't really want to raise a bunch of Cain until it was dismissed. And it took them 3 years to raising Cain.
There he is right there.
It took them 3 years before they dismissed the charge with prejudice. They had nothing anyway.
Okay, so they dismissed it with prejudice then.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So that means nothing can be brought if you don't know, if it's dismissed with prejudice, that means that they can't bring the charges anymore, or this is all just a garbage prosecution.
Yeah. It's gone. But the attorneys that I did speak to had told me, the North Carolina attorneys especially, that the way their system is set up and the laws are set up in North Carolina, if you get out of jail alive, you really have no recourse. They've done their job. There's nothing they can do.
Well, yeah, for a defense attorney, but you don't have the ability to.
I was talking to people who could sue them. I just went crazy, brain dead on that term. But yeah, the people that could sue them, and we're used to suing the government, and nobody would pick it up. But on their behalf, I was defeated, and I didn't try real hard. I just spent time healing. And I do think from the release of this movie, and it has nothing to do with why we've done it, but somebody's going to see this and say, you know what? I think I can help.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean and I mean hopefully someone watching will know someone or something like that, because the story that you outlined, it does seem like that kind of abuse of power is ripe for a lawsuit, and this is the United States, where there is no shortage of lawyers. There are plenty of lawyers in the U.S. and
far too many.
I would imagine there'd be someone motivated to. Especially, considering what seems like such an open and shut case.
Well, you would think so. Broward County is completely corrupt anyway. But think about this: being held for 23 days, not knowing why you were being held, not allowed to see an attorney, don't see a judge for 8 days. When the judge does,
so you couldn't see an attorney for almost 3 weeks. Huh? You never had the option of seeing an attorney.
I had nobody to call. Had no money. Couldn't get a hold of an attorney on my own. And then when the judge gave the court order, they wouldn't access my cell phone, so I couldn't get it that way. And then they didn't give me an attorney. See, by law, you get an attorney when you're arrested.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just the law. And they said, it's not our deal. It's an out-of-state warrant.
Yeah, and they never Mirandized him.
Never Mirandized.
So he never was, right to remain silent, right to an attorney.
Did you have to wait to see a lawyer once you got to North Carolina?
No, that happened. Well, I got in the evening, and it happened the next day.
Okay.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.